The fight started in the garden, where roses bloomed like they belonged to someone else's life, not mine. My sister Amber stood there with her perfect smirk, twisting one of the long stems between her fingers. She was 22, but carried herself like royalty, and everyone in my family treated her like it. She was the golden one. And me? I was the shadow trailing behind her crown. She turned toward me, eyes flashing with that spoiled superiority. "Don't touch the roses," she sneered. "They're too beautiful for someone like you." I rolled my eyes, tired of biting my tongue. "They're just flowers, Amber, not your personal trophies." That's when she did it. She snapped a branch straight from the bush thorn's sharp, petals crimson like fire, and struck it across my arm. The sting ripped through me. I gasped, stumbling back, but she advanced, lashing me again. Each strike was punctuated with her laughter, cruel and victorious. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. "You see?" she hissed, dragging the thorned branch across my skin again. "Beautiful things hurt trash, and you're nothing but trash." Behind her, our mother appeared on the porch. I thought maybe she would stop it, but instead she leaned on the railing, sipping from her glass, and smirked. "Go on, Amber," Mom chuckled, her voice dripping with venom. "Teach her a lesson. Let her remember beauty has a price, and ugly girls always pay it." My stomach dropped. "Mom!" My voice cracked as another strike sliced across my shoulder. I wasn't even fighting back, I couldn't. Every time I tried to grab the branch, Amber shoved me down, triumphant. Dad's voice came from inside, booming without even looking. "Keep it down out there. If she's crying, she probably deserves it. Don't interrupt my show." The humiliation was worse than the pain. I felt like the world had shrunk to those roses, my sister's laugh and Mom's cold eyes staring at me like I wasn't even her child. Neighbors glanced through their fences but quickly looked away. No one interfered. No one ever did. When Amber finally dropped the thorned branch, she was breathless, cheeks flushed, eyes sparkling with the high of dominance. She leaned down close to me, her perfume mixing with the sharp scent of roses. "Remember this," she whispered. "Beauty cuts, and you'll never have it." Mom clapped slowly from the porch like it was a performance. "Well done. Maybe she'll finally learn her place." I stood there trembling, my arms and shoulders stinging, my dignity torn into as many pieces as the rose petals scattered at my feet. I wanted to scream, to fight back, to prove them wrong. But the weight of years of insults pressed me down. They had broken me so many times that silence felt safer than defiance. But something shifted inside me that day, a spark, hidden beneath the humiliation. While they laughed, I memorized every word, every smirk, every cruel glance, and for the first time, I promised myself, they would regret this. I locked myself in my room that night, the sting of thorns still burning on my skin, but the echo of their laughter was worse. I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at my arms where faint, red scratches lined up like ugly reminders of where the branch had landed. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Amber's voice. Beautiful things hurt trash. And Mom's approving clap like cruelty was something to applaud. I wanted to hate just that moment. But the truth was, it wasn't just that moment. It was years of the same pattern. Amber got praise for breathing and I got punished for existing. She came home with failing grades. She's stressed. She's too beautiful to worry about books. I came home with straight A's. Stop trying to show off. No one likes a desperate girl. She wasted money on shopping sprees. She deserves it. She needs to look good. I saved money from part-time jobs. Why bother? You'll never shine no matter what you buy. That night, I replayed every memory like a slideshow, each one pushing me closer to the edge of my patience. I realized they weren't just trying to humiliate me. They were trying to erase me, to make me believe I was nothing until I finally acted like nothing. The next morning, Amber strutted into the kitchen, a smug grin plastered on her face. She twirled one of her roses in her hand like a trophy, the thorns still sharp, one petal stained faintly darker from last night. She tapped it against her palm and said, "Does it still sting? Or have you finally learned your place?" Mom sipped her coffee without looking up from her phone. "If she hasn't, maybe next time you should take it across her face. Scars build character." She laughed at her own cruelty like it was clever. I sat there at the table with my untouched cereal, forcing myself not to flinch. For the first time, instead of crying or shrinking away, I looked Amber dead in the eye. Something in my stare made her falter for a split second, but she quickly brushed it off with another smirk. They didn't know it yet, but my silence wasn't weakness anymore. It was planning. At school, people noticed. My friend Jessica leaned in and whispered, "What happened to your arm?" I shrugged it off, muttering something about a gardening accident. How could I explain the truth? That my own mother and sister treated me like a punching bag while my dad sat back and called it discipline? No one would believe me. Or worse, they'd pity me. And I didn't want pity. I wanted power. That evening, I stayed in the garden long after everyone went to bed. I stood in front of the roses, staring at the same bush Amber had ripped the branch from. My hand hovered over the thorns, but I didn't touch them. Instead, I whispered into the night, "One day you'll feel what I feel. Every cut, every sting." Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the house grew thicker. Amber grew bolder, Mom grew crueler, and Dad grew more dismissive. They didn't realize they were fueling the fire inside me. Every insult, every shove, every laugh was kindling. The breaking point came one Saturday afternoon. Amber walked into my room without knocking, holding that same thorned rose branch like it was her personal scepter. She smacked it against my desk, scattering my books onto the floor. "Still pretending you're better than me with your studying? Guess what? No one will ever care about your grades. You'll always be the ugly shadow." Mom appeared in the doorway, smirking like she'd been waiting for this. "Amber, don't waste too much time. Trash learns slow, but sometimes you have to beat lessons into them." My heart pounded so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. Something inside me snapped, not like a branch breaking, but like a chain falling off. I stood up slowly, my hands shaking, but my voice steady for the first time. "You think you're the rose, Amber," I said, staring straight at her. "But roses die when you rip them from the stem, and you've been ripping yourself apart all along." Her smirk faltered for the briefest second. Mom's eyes narrowed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just stood there, taller than I'd ever felt before, even with the sting still etched into my skin. For the first time, I wasn't the girl who took it quietly. I was the girl who was going to do something about it. And in that moment, I knew. Their laughter would end, and when it did, it wouldn't be mine they'd hear. It would be their own echo turned against them. The night of their downfall didn't happen in one fiery explosion. It came slowly, deliberately, and with the kind of precision they never thought I was capable of. They thought I was just the quiet one, the family's scapegoat. They didn't realize silence was the sharpest weapon I had. Months passed after the Rose Branch incident, and I learned to play their game in reverse. At home, I nodded when Mom called me useless. I smiled faintly when Amber bragged about boys, outfits, or the endless compliments she claimed everyone showered her with. I even laughed politely when Dad barked that I'd never be anything, but inside, I was building something. The first step was moving out quietly. They didn't even notice when I started stashing money for my part-time job. They were too busy planning Amber's future, her modeling shoots, her glamorous parties, her endless parade of attention. While they obsessed over her, I slipped through the cracks. One Saturday morning, I left the house with nothing but a backpack, my phone, and the promise I'd never let them corner me again. I found a cheap basement apartment in the city. It was small, damp, and far from beautiful, but it was mine. For the first time in my life, I closed a door and didn't feel like someone could barge in to break me. I threw myself into work and study. Nights blurred into mornings as I picked up shifts and completed certifications. Every insult they'd ever hurled at me became fuel. Trash, useless, shadow. Fine, I'd show them what trash could become. Amber, meanwhile, was rotting in her own pride. Word filtered back through neighbors that she'd quit college after failing half her classes. She was too busy chasing parties and posting staged pictures online. Mom kept defending her, of course. She's destined for greatness. Beauty doesn't need books. Dad agreed, though he was already pouring money into bailing Amber out of the messes she created. And then came the perfect opportunity. A high-profile internship opened up in the same company Amber was desperately trying to impress. The irony? I had applied too. While Amber leaned on her fake smile and family name, I leaned on work, real results. The company didn't care about beauty queens who strutted like roses. They wanted brains, determination, and grit. And that's what I had. When I got the position, I didn't scream or celebrate out loud. I simply folded the acceptance letter into my bag and carried it home. My plan wasn't just to succeed, it was to succeed in a way that crushed their pride. Weeks later, a company held a charity gala. All employees were invited, encouraged to bring family. When my boss asked if I wanted to bring mine, I hesitated. Then I realized, yes, I would bring them. Not to celebrate, to expose. The night of the gala, I arrived with them trailing behind me like royalty entering a palace. Mom wore her diamonds, Dad his tailored suit, Amber her flashiest red dress. They looked around smug, assuming I'd gotten them access because of them. They didn't know this was my stage. As we mingled, guests congratulated me. Me, on my work, my leadership, my rise. My parents' smiles faltered. Amber's painted grin stiffened. Then came the moment. The big presentation. My boss introduced me as the lead of a major project, highlighting my resilience, discipline, and vision. The spotlight was mine, and the applause was deafening. My parents froze. Amber's glass slipped from her hand, shattering at her feet. I looked straight at them as the clapping echoed. Trash, I whispered under my breath, can shine brighter than roses. Mom's face drained of color. Dad looked away, suddenly very small. Amber muttered, This can't be real. But it was real. Their nightmare was standing in front of them. From that night on, everything shifted. Neighbors stopped praising Amber and started whispering about me. Invitations dried up for her, but my inbox overflowed. Their golden pedestal cracked, and for the first time, they felt what it was like to be the shadow. I didn't scream at them. I didn't drag them to their knees. I did something worse. I left them in silence, forced to choke on the reality that the daughter they dismissed, the girl they mocked with roses and scars, had bloomed into something they could never destroy. They still sit in that house, bitter and shrinking. Amber tries to claw her way back into the spotlight, but fails every time. Mom and Dad glare at me whenever I pass by them at town events, but they never say a word. They can't, because deep down they know I won. And the day they laughed as Amber beat me with thorns was the day they planted the seeds of their own downfall. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.